Born in Hong Kong, 1955. I'm not Chinese, I'm a South African. I wanted something to do, and that acted as a kind of catalyst. And I just decided, it was June 1976, I'm going to run, and then I did the right thing. I ran for 10 minutes, and I ended up coming third. And so that was also, it was a massive breakthrough for me, because in that race, I was 5 minutes behind Pete Forster, who won it.
Yeah.
And I was 45 seconds behind Johnny Halberstadt, who was second. So then I realized, oh, you can win this race. Then I blew it, and the following year I came second. I should have won. Vic Clapham came back from that and said, okay, now I want to have an event that will remember my companions who died in the war. And then after that, of course, it became the Comrades of all conflict. So I would say, including South Africa's own liberation struggle, the Second World War. In 1975, the race was open to runners of all races and to women. But even then it was embarrassing, because black runners had to run the Comrades with their ethnic tag, with the label underneath their number.
Yeah.
So there's your number, but underneath it says Sotho or Xhosa or Zulu, whatever. 1976 was the first year Comrades was on television. And it wasn't live on television. They filmed it and they showed the race 2 weeks later, like a half an hour. Begin with, you got gold if you were top 6. Why top 6? Because it was a race run as part of the British Empire. And the British have a half dozen or a dozen.
And folks, welcome to this episode of the Runners Podcast with myself, Rotogolo. And today we are hosting a 9 times Comrades champion, and that the Bruce Fordyce, who has got 30 Comrades under his belt. He is the founder of the Parkrun and so forth. So we thought, let's come home. It's just after Comrades, and we thought it would be befitting just to show him some love, and much needed love, because he's been talking, he's been commentating, he's been doing all sorts of things. So we visited him and thought, let's talk to him. And for you at home, like, subscribe, comment, and tell us if you would want to hear more from Bruce Fordyce, because he has his channel where he talks to other people. So maybe he might just decide one day to do his own episode alone. But yeah, without further waste of time, let me not do much of the talking. He will do much of the talking. Okay. Bruce Fordyce, it's an honor to be welcomed in your office.
Yeah, sorry, a rather cold office. It's a cold day in winter. Tried to heat it up before, but the warmth is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've got one thing. What I've realized, they've got wealth and tons of knowledge about this the sport that I love so much, so dearly, which is road running. Yeah. And you know, coincidentally, on Sunday I went to do a trail run around the Maropeng, and I remembered something about you that we'll get to. Just quickly introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, I'm Bruce Fordyce, and probably best known for running the Comrades Marathon and winning it 9 times, but I've done a lot of other running, a lot of other road races over the years. I think the thing that I'm most passionate about now is parkrun, which I've started in South Africa, and we've grown from one parkrun with 26 people to now 225 different venues with over 1.5 million registered members. So that's the thing that I spend most of my time doing. I'm also a writer, a speaker, a commentator, and an ex-archaeologist. So I taught archaeology at Wits University. So I know a little bit about the Iron Age, Bushman rock art, and early hominids of Southern Africa.
Where were you born? Your primary, secondary?
Okay.
So
I was born in Hong Kong. People don't know that. I'm born in Hong Kong, 1955. I'm not Chinese. I'm a South African. My father was in the British Army, which you could join in those days, and you still can, because we are part of the Commonwealth, and any young man or woman who wants to make a career in the army can actually join the British Army, which my father did to see the world. And he was posted to a very famous regiment called the Gurkhas, who are legendary for being some of the bravest soldiers in the world, and they happened to be stationed in Hong Kong, keeping the Chinese out of Hong Kong, which was an irony because, of course, it's part of China. And so I was born there, and my sister was born in Singapore. But I went to school in England for a while because he went back to the UK to teach jungle warfare, of which he was an expert. But then eventually the whole family, we returned to South Africa, and I've been here ever since.
So you were a lad that studied at Wits University, and that's where your running started.
Well, it did and it didn't. You know, right through my school career, I knew that I was a good runner. I was always fast, and I was always... So when it was school sports day, then I would run well. And I found that the longer the race, the better I did. So when I got to... I can never do the grades. I can't get used to this grading system. Standard 9, so that would be grade 11.
Yeah.
I won the school cross-country race, and then I won it again the following year in matric. And then at Athletics Day, I won the 5,000 meters and the 1,500 meters, and those sort of distances. So I always knew I was a good runner, but that didn't mean that I would be a runner who could win a race like the Comrades Marathon. So then I went to university, and like all good students, I did what's exactly right. You've got to party as much as you can. You've got to do just enough work to pass so that you can be back the next year because it's good fun. And then in my third year at university, I started running with the specific aim of running the Comrades Marathon. And then I ran the Comrades the following year. So my first Comrades was 1977. And I did it just to run the race. I had no idea I would win it.
What enticed you to Comrades? Because, I mean, back in those days, there were no prizes.
There were no prizes at all until 1995, no monetary prizes. Okay?
Yeah.
So I was never concerned, and I never have been concerned about making money at a race. What I found in life is if you pursue excellence, the results follow. So, you know, I'm trying to think, but the Olympic Games, for many years in the Olympic Games, absolutely no money for winning the Olympic marathon, for instance. But you win the Olympic marathon, you know, you're set up for life. So I really just pursued improving, and I got better each year. So my first year, my first Comrades, I was a 6:45, and I came 43rd. And then the second year, I ran 6:11, 6 hours 11 minutes, and I was 14th. And in that race, I saw the top 10 runners. I didn't see the winner, was Alan Robb, but I saw 6, 7, 8th ahead of me. And I realized they're human. You know, they're also hurting, they're also getting slower, they're also cramping. And so the following year, 1979, was my breakthrough year. I decided, what happens if I really train hard? And I trained much harder in 1979, and I ended up coming third. And so that was also, it was a massive breakthrough for me, because in that race, I was 5 minutes behind Pete Forster, who won it.
Yeah.
And I was 45 seconds behind Johnny Halberstadt, who was second. So then I realized, oh, you can win this race. Then I blew it, and the following year I came second. I should have won, but I came second, and then after that I won.
Had you started working when you ran Comrades, or you were still at school?
No, I was at university. I was at Wits. So I started working in the department. So I was at university, but I started as a research officer, then a research assistant, then a junior lecturer, that sort of status. And I taught and participated in archaeological research at Wits University from, I'm trying to think, about 1981 onwards. Up until then, I was a student. Then I started working in the department, but it was a great job to have, because it gave me a lot of time off to train.
And then back in the day, you guys did not have fancy shoes. You did not have this fancy nutrition. And how did you balance your training, your work, and the nutrition?
Nutrition just didn't enter into it. We just never thought about it. We ate. You ate. That's it. You just eat food. I'm a student. I survived on at Wits University, the canteen. Our favorite meal at the canteen was slap chips and gravy. That's what we had, slap chips and gravy, and then hamburgers. We were like young students, but we still ran well. Probably drank too much alcohol because we partied a lot. And then in the race, we began to make the early breakthroughs in nutrition, if you could call it that. But what we did is we took flat Coke or flat, I don't know, a flat cold drink, anything.
A soda.
Any flat soda.
Yeah.
We took the gas out of it and we added table sugar to it.
Yeah.
That's what we used to do. Those are the origins of the original gels that you get. They're actually just very fancy sugars. And we were running on that anyway, and we were reading what the early pioneers did, and people like Arthur Newton, who won 5 times in the 1920s. He was drinking iced tea with honey put in it. Same thing. So we really trained like. Then carbohydrate loading became quite popular, so we would load with carbohydrates for 3 days before the race. On race morning, I ate nothing, and during the race, I ate nothing.
Shoo.
Well, you finish by 11 o'clock if you're going to win.
Yeah.
So,
But
and I don't understand how they can eat. I do not understand how anyone can eat before. First of all, I'm so nervous before the race that I can't eat. And secondly, it just sits there like this in your stomach while you're running. No.
From archaeology, I think you've got a story to tell about us being hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, so what we've forgotten is that we as a species are hunter-gatherers. We walked and trekked across the plains of Africa, the mountains of Africa, and we essentially ate a few very simple plant foods, not like the stuff we've got now, bitter berries and things like that. But really, our diet was that we hunted and ran and chased animals and clubbed them to death or stoned them to death or stabbed them to death and ate them. That's what we ate. And our digestive systems have not changed from that time. So I would always take issue with somebody who, you've got to do this and that. Just eat simple food. Don't focus too much on nutrition. If it says healthy, like a health breakfast, it is not. Have the direct opposite.
Yeah.
Have the direct opposite. So when you go for breakfast, and there's the health breakfast, and it's muesli, and it's honey, and it's strawberry yogurt. Wow! That is just sugar packed with extra sugar. Have the eggs and bacon, because that is closer to our origins as a human, as a species.
So it's protein.
It's protein and fats.
Yeah.
It's protein and fats. But you try and tell that to a vegetarian or a vegan, well, we'll get shot down. But I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but then let's just go to Comrades, which you are popularly known for.
Yeah.
Just give us I know you're not an ambassador of Comrades, but just give us the background to how Comrades started back in those days to a point whereby it enticed you to even run it.
Okay, so Comrades, if you do the history of the Comrades Marathon, it was, until 1975, it was a white male-only race. It was run by what many would call the lunatic fringe. Why would you do that? It's such a stupid thing to do. It's quite small fields, but with a tradition that was slowly building. So like going up and alternatively going up and down, the green numbers for running more than 10, the different metal medals for different times, no prize money, and many people have forgotten why it started. Why did Vic Clapham start it? He started the Comrades Marathon. It's not some funny name. He started the Comrades Marathon in memory of his comrades who died and fell in the First World War. And when Comrades ends, when the last gun has been fired, you will hear a bugle calling, "Papa, Papa," and that bugle trumpet plays the last post, which is played in the army and at burials of soldiers and at the going down of the sun. And so Vic Clapham came back from the First World War, from the horrors of the First World War, and I mean I'm quite good at quoting the war poets. John McCrae, in the First World War battlefields, there were poppies that grew everywhere. Poppy flowers grew everywhere because they grow in churned up ground. The ground was churned up because of the shells and the cannonballs that had fallen there and blown the ground. And so there were poppies everywhere. So John McCrae's opening lines On Flanders fields, or in Flanders fields, the poppies grow. Between the crosses, row on row. And that's the significant words, row on row. So many dead, millions of dead. And then, to me, the greatest First World War poet, Wilfred Owen, he wrote about how sad it was. He came from a little English village. When someone died in his village, the church bells used to ring to tell everyone somebody has died and now there's a burial service to bury this person. So his poem starts off, "What passing bells for those who die like cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns, only the stuttering rifle's rapid rattle." I mean, that's what Vic Clapham experienced, and also Wilfred Owen's poem, which he started off, "Dulce et decorum est, pro patria more." It is sweet and just to die for your country. What a load of rubbish! But that's why he wrote that poem. Anyway, and he died in the war. But so Vic Clapham came back from that and said, "Okay, now I want to have an event that will remember my companions who died in the war." And then after that, of course, it became the comrades of all conflict. So I would say, including South Africa's own liberation struggle, the Second World War, all those things. And in the Second World War, we lost a few comrades winners. I'm trying to think of a couple who might. There are a couple who died in the Second World War. Phil Masterton Smith, who won the Comrades Marathon by 2 seconds. He died in the Second World War. He came second to Wally Hayward. And then there were Comrades Marathon runners who were held prisoner. They were prisoners of war. Bill Cochran, I think Darrell Dale. So there were quite a few, and a lot of soldiers, of course, who fought. And the Comrades were stopped from 1940 to 1946 because of the Second World War. So he started that race. So that race started, and it was always just a very few small, not big. And then it started growing, and I think probably more and more people were drawn to the race, again, white males. But then 1975, the race was open to runners of all races and to women. But even then it was embarrassing, because black runners had to run the Comrades with their ethnic tag, with a label underneath their number.
Yeah.
So there's your number, but underneath it says Sotho or Xhosa or Zulu, whatever. Oh, it's embarrassing when you look at the photographs. And there were a handful of women runners. But then in 1976, and that's my key, 1976 was the first year Comrades was on television. And it wasn't live on television. They filmed it and they showed the race 2 weeks later, like a half an hour package. But that galvanized people. It certainly worked for me. Now, Comrades Marathon was already in my DNA because I knew about it. I knew about the race. I used to listen to it on the radio before television.
Oh, yeah.
We would listen to my early heroes are Dave Bagshaw, who won 3. He's an Englishman who was working here in South Africa. He won 3. Dave Levick, who was from Wits, he won 1 and he came second in 1. He was an inspiration. So I'm trying to think of the runners back there. Derek Price, 74, 75.
I've heard of David Price, out of those.
And Mick Orton, the coal miner from Yorkshire, who won. And then, of course, Jackie Meckler, who won 5 times. So those people inspired me, and I knew all about it. And because I was a good runner, so Comrades was sitting here, maybe in my DNA somewhere, waiting to pop out. And then 1976, they showed it on television, and I watched that. And I saw that race, and I thought, Alan Robb won that year. And I didn't for one moment think I would win, but I saw the ordinary runners finishing. I thought, well, that guy can do it. He doesn't even look athletic.
Yeah.
I can definitely do it. And then at the same time, I got, I was quite active in student politics. And June the 16th, 1976, a whole bunch of us Witsies decided we're going to march in solidarity with the students and the pupils in Soweto. So we set off and we went down Jan Smuts Avenue. We were going across the Queen Victoria Bridge. I was running with my friend, here's a good name for you, with my school friend and my university friend, Paul Ziller.
Oh.
His sister's Helen.
Oh,
the Ziller family has been proactive and active in South African politics
wow.
and for a long time. Anyway, I was walking with Paul and we got set upon by the police, and the only word for it, they murdered us. They smashed us. So I was a bit depressed, and I wanted something to do, and that acted as a kind of catalyst. And I just decided, it was June 1976, I'm going to run, and then I did the right thing. I ran for 10 minutes around the Wits rugby fields. For 10 minutes, because remember, I hadn't run since I was at school.
Oh, yeah.
And I was very unfit, and I knew I'd have to walk, but that was exactly the right thing to do, because I made it so easy that the next day I came out to do another 10-minute run. It's easy. Beginners stop because they make it too hard.
Yeah.
And as soon as they've got half an excuse, they don't run. But when you make it so easy, it's so easy to come out again. And then sort of after about a week of doing 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, I thought, okay, let's try 15 minutes. 15 minutes, 15 minutes. And then obviously I've got the natural talent, so I improved very rapidly, very, very fast. You know, things started happening quite quickly. And then the other thing that I did, which is completely correct, is that I wrote it down. I kept a training diary. I've written they're over there, they're in my office.
Yeah.
Piles of books of every single training run I've ever done since June 1976.
Is that why you've got a photographic memory? Because when I listen to you, every time I hear, like you don't even, like you just shoot from the hip like that.
Well, you see, the other thing is, I mean, I'm passionate about Comrades, I'm passionate about marathon running. So I'm going to read everything about it.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about the Olympic Games. I told you I was at school in England. I was very fortunate to be at school in England in 1968. And 1968, the Olympic Games were held at Mexico City. South Africa, by the way, had no television.
Yeah.
Not until 1976.
Yeah.
Because the nationalist government didn't want South Africans to see normal society where people of all races and colours are mixing, and they also didn't want South Africans to hear the politics from overseas.
Oh.
But eventually they cracked under the stress. You just couldn't be a modern, first world country without television. So 76 we got TV. But anyway, I was at school in 68, and we were fortunate enough, in England, we were fortunate enough to watch the 1968 Mexico Olympics on television, in black and white, because there was no colour TV in those days. And those heroes of that Olympic Games have stayed with me ever since. And they must have fired something in me, because it was also the year 68 that Africa made its breakthrough. There had been some African champions before. Abebe Bikila won the marathon in Rome in 1960 from Ethiopia. Then he won it again in 64. But in 1968, East Africa came like a bomb. Bang! And it should have been us as well, but of course we were banned. But came like a bomb, and I can give you the names, Kipchoge Kaino, the great Kenyan, 1,500 meters gold, 5,000 meters silver, but running a time in the 1,500 meters, they said it's impossible because Mexico City was at high altitude.
I know
they said you
high
can't.
Altitude,
yeah, so Kip Kaino, 1968, Naftali Temu in the 10,000 meters, Mohamed Gamoudi from Morocco in the 5,000 meters, and then Mama Volda from Ethiopia, the marathon. And so those runners, those East Africans, and they ran with such freedom, and they weren't frightened of the stopwatch. They just ran as they felt, and they weren't frightened of their opposition. So that made a huge impact on me. And then also, even though it wasn't athletics, to see Bob Beamon break the world record in the long jump by such a huge margin that when we talk about a great athletic or sporting achievement now, we call it a Beaman-esque achievement, named after Bob Beamon's long jump. Then, not only that, there was an Englishman, David Hemery, winning the 400-meter hurdles in a world record, which was mind-boggling. But I think probably the other thing, because I was starting to become influenced by the music of the Beatles and the hippie era, and the following year was Woodstock 1969. I think to watch Dick Fosbury in the long jump. Everybody did the long jump. They ran up and they jumped over, or they ran up and they did a scissors, or they did what's called a Western roll. They rolled over on their stomachs over the bar. Fosbury, he had long shoulder-length hair, so he was a hippie, but the American team made him cut his hair to be in the team. So in the Olympics, he had short haircut. But he worked out that if you go backwards over the bar, you can go higher. And he worked out, because he was a student of science at Berkeley University, he ran up using all that forward momentum and then used it to turn backwards and go over the bar. And he won the gold medal and shattered the world record and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And again, so famous that it is now called the Fosbury flop.
Oh.
The style that he used, there isn't a single high jumper in the world that doesn't use the Fosbury flop.
Definitely.
Dick Fosbury. So those Olympics hit me a lot, and so I was always going to be a runner, I think. And then I was in South Africa by the 1972 Olympics, but 72 we still didn't have television, but we managed to get, people would bring recordings and stuff like that, and I watched Finland's Lasse Viren win the 5,000 and the 10,000 meter double, to win them both, bang bang, and then 4 years later, bang bang, both of them again. Was a massive, so that was, and then Comrades was just on television and I had to do it.
You spoke about the last post, and people were raving about the Comrade traditions. So you just mentioned one of the traditions, which is the last post, and people are crying about the traditions at the start of the race. So do you know how far back do some of these traditions date to? Yeah,
I don't think there was much tradition in the first one. 1921, down run, Bill Rowan won. But there's a tradition being created, even though he didn't know it, that there would be a medal called the Bill Rowan Medal.
Yeah.
Bill Rowan won. I'm not sure when he passed away, but he certainly wasn't alive to know that one day there would be a medal named after him.
Yeah.
For breaking 9 hours, because he ran 9 hours to win the first Comrades. So there was probably very little then, but then quite rapidly the traditions grew. And I've run all the marathons, the great city marathons of the world. I've run every marathon you can name: Boston, London, New York, Chicago. I've done them all. None of them have a start quite like Comrades, and that is because it has suddenly had all these traditions added to it just for the start of the race. And Camille Herron, the lovely, lovely lady, she would have been a hippie in the 1960s from California. She would have definitely, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. She would have been that person. But she has also run most of the marathons in the world, and she won 2018. She won Comrades. She said there's no start, there's no race like the Comrades because of the traditions, and we know what they are. So somewhere along the line, Chariots of Fire came. Well, we know when that happened because the movie was made in 1981. So the following year, 1982, is Chariots of Fire.
That's when you won.
Yeah, I won 81, but there was no Chariots of Fire when I won. Max Trimborn's Cockerel Crow, probably about 1935. That started. He did it. He was still alive.
Oh.
But now he's died, but they recorded him, so they play a recording of him doing it. What else? Shosholoza's recent.
Yeah.
Shosholoza must have come since 1994. I'm sure it wasn't there before.
And I think Shosholoza is just synonymous with the name Comrades.
It is now, but it wasn't. I mean, we didn't have Shosholoza in my day when I started. Up Run, Down Run, that was there from the beginning. And then the different color medals and the green numbers came quite quickly. I don't know the exact year. The green numbers came quite quickly. And then the different color medals after a while. To begin with, you got gold if you were top 6. Why top 6? Because it was a race run as part of the British Empire. And the British have a half dozen or a dozen. And a dozen is 12.
Yeah.
A half dozen is 6. And so there were 6 golds, and all the other medals were silver. There was no bronze or anything like that. Then eventually they decided the standard of the race was so high that they must have 10 golds. And then they must have silver to 7.5 hours, and then bronze. But now, as we know, now there's Isabel Roche-Kelly medal, Wally Hayward medal, Robert Machali medal, so it's getting a bit confusing. Any day now we'll have a medal for every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Another thing is that you chose your parents carefully. That's what you say. And then also that Comrades, you feel it was part of your DNA from the
early days.
From your early days, yeah. But then, what kept you going up until 30 Comrades?
So just to say at one point, I say choose your parents correctly. It is, obviously you're genetically suited to running long distances. I think they may find out that certain groups of people are even genetically suited to even smaller things. Like if you really want to win the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase in the Olympics, you better come from Kenya or Ethiopia. Yeah, they have been beaten, but 9 times out of 10, no. If you want to run a really fast New York Marathon, you better come from Ethiopia, Uganda, or Tanzania, or Kenya. You're just not going. But if you want to win the Comrades, there seems to be another strength factor involved, and so it's a different kind of athlete. Not so fast over 5,000 meters, still fast, but not world-class fast. But then unable to slow down. When the Comrade starts at 65 Ks, and there's some group of runners that can keep on going. And I seem to have those genetics in me. I can run quite fast for a very long time. I can't run very fast for long, but I can run quite fast for a very long time. And my father was notorious when he was a soldier for going into the jungle, because he fought most of his campaigns. He fought Brunei, Sarawak, Borneo, Malaya, those places, and a lot of people said he could put a heavy pack on his back and he could march through the jungle for a long time. So I think I had his genetics. He just never ran, so he didn't know that he had the genetics to be a good runner. But then, why did I keep going? Because the Comrades is magic, first of all, if you win, you want to win again, so that kept me going for a long time. And I kept getting faster for 8 years. So I always tell people, you're not going to run your fastest Comrades first time. For 8 years I got faster, whether it was up or down. And then after that I just enjoyed it so much, and once the pressure was off, I was no longer trying to win. Then I put pressure on myself, try and get another silver, try and do this, run with friends. But then after 30, in my 30th Comrades, I caught Zola Budd.
Yeah.
I caught Zola with about 20 Ks to go. I mean, can you believe it? She was ahead of me, cheeky little imp. Anyway, she was ahead of me, and I caught Zola with 20 to go. And we ran the last 20 together, and it was two wonderful forwards. When we finished, the crowd went mad. It was like winning. I felt like I was winning again. Not for me, they were going absolutely mad for Zola. So I was doing my 30th, she was running her first.
Oh.
And I just thought, this is a very good time to call it quits, because I couldn't get the most number of Comrades. I mean, even at that stage, if I was on 30, Louis Massain and Barry Holland were on 40-something.
Yeah.
So even if they died, I had to run at least another decade just to catch up with them. And they haven't died, so they've carried on running more Comrades. So I thought it was a good time to say 30 is a great number out, and I am more valuable to the race and to myself by not running.
And you wrote a wonderful book, The Winged Messenger. One would ask themselves, what a weird title.
Okay, so it's called The Winged Messenger because the Comrades logo, which is here on your cap, it's here on my cap, is Hermes. And Hermes was the winged messenger of the Greek gods.
Yes.
So that is why I've called it Winged Messenger. His ability, the Greeks had a lot of gods. So if you go in the pantheon of the Greek gods, they had like the hierarchy of gods was Zeus. His Latin name is Jupiter, because the Romans just copied everything from the Greeks. So his Greek name was Zeus, Latin name Jupiter. His wife was Hera, Athena, Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Her Latin name is Venus, and those gods. But below them they had a myriad of other gods, lots of other gods. They would have a god for a little stream, a god for a beautiful little forest. And Hermes was the god who was the winged messenger, and he was the god who could go from the world of the living to the world of the dead and bring you messages from your ancestors and take them messages from you back to them. He could cross the holy river Styx and he could do STYX. He could do that into the world, into the underworld, and come back. And he was a god who could travel across time. You see, so he could go into the past and into the future, which none of the other gods had that power. He was also the god of the roads. So that's why he's such a great choice. And you'll see when you look at the logo that he has wings on his elbows and on his ankles, because he was the winged messenger. And the reason it's so appropriate, you see, is I always say to people, you go from the past to the present like he could, from the past to the future. And the person you are after you've run Comrades is not the same person you were before.
Definitely.
You change forever. So that is the gift that Hermes brings us. His Latin name is Mercury. And so that's why I thought I would call it that, because I say to people, and this book is written for any Comrades runner, but particularly for novices, for first-timers, because the person you are before you run the Comrades is not the same person you will be afterwards. You know, you change forever. After you've run Comrades, there's nothing I can't do if I set my mind to. I ran Comrades, I can do anything. And that's what Hermes teaches you. That's what the winged messenger teaches you. So that's why I always say, become a winged messenger. Be changed forever. And all this very simple book is all the training I did for 1 year to run my first Comrades. I've got every single training run down, and then I've got notes next to them which say, this was a great one. This was a good training session. This is not a good training session. This is stupid. I'm running when I've got flu. Why am I doing that? So I've criticized myself, but it goes from the very first run, which is 10 minutes around the Wits rugby fields, right to my first Comrades. And so it seems to have worked with a few stories thrown in. It seems to have worked very well. And you know, when people want to buy a present for the runner in their life, they can go and buy, I don't know, whatever you can go and buy them, some socks. Whatever. This is the best present, because it's not expensive, and I'll sign a message on the front saying good luck, you can do it. So I've sold quite a few thousand copies actually, which is quite amazing.
And at the back of it is got a picture of you with Nelson Mandela.
Yes, with Madiba. I received a state president's award from him, and it's quite clever. If he was sharp as anything when I got up to get my award. I mean, there were a whole lot of other sportsmen and women who were getting awards, but when it was my turn, he looked at me and he said, here's Bruce, the man with more comrades than my ANC, which is sharp.
It's got, he had a great sense of humor, just like you are.
He was sharp, very.
But then how much is the book?
200 Rand. I mean, it's not, you can buy a present for someone, you can't buy a present for someone for that. So even when people, it's their birthday, I say, just buy them that. They actually will be happy when they open it, instead of opening it to see you bought them an expensive bar of soap. Or you bought them some noddy socks. No, buy my book and I'll sign it. And it's not an arrogant thing. I would buy, if Alan Robb, my old rival, and we're great friends now, but Alan who won 4, if Alan bought out a book on Comrades and what he did, I would buy it immediately. I want to know, what did Alan Robb do? He won 4 times. What did he do? You know, if Gerda bought out a book, you know, I'd buy it immediately, Gerda, and I wanted to sign it for me. So those, you know, I think that it's quite a good idea, something to do, because people, I've got a captive readership, let's put it that way, because people are going to buy it. So
this question, I think is just an unusual one. Do you know all the Comrades winners from the first up to the Tedijana and Gerda Stay?
Probably. I'll probably make a couple of mistakes, but pretty much. I mean, at times it's easy. Like if I'm trying to think, you go, 1960, Jackie Meckler, 61, George Claassen, he was a headmaster at Middelburg High School. His son, Wynand, became captain of the Springboks, and he still remembers his dad coming home with a huge trophy and he didn't know what it was. 1962 is John Smith from England. 63 is Jackie Meckler. 64 is Jackie Meckler. 65, it was snowing and it was freezing cold in Pietermaritzburg. Bernard Gomersall from Leeds in England won it. 66, Tommy Malone won. 67 is the closest ever finish in the Comrades history. 1 second, Marnie couldn't beat Tommy Malone by 1 second. 68 is Jackie Meckler's last win. 69 is Dave Bagshaw. 70 is Bagshaw. 71 is Bagshaw. 72 is Mick Orton, the coal miner. 73 is Dave Levick, the student. 74 is Derek Price. 75 is Derek Price. 76 is Alan Robb. 77's Alan Robb, 78, first man to break 5.5 hours, Alan Robb, 79, Pete Forster, 80, Alan Robb, 81 after that gets a bit boring. And then I'll do the ladies.
Was it boring because you won it 9 times, but you disappointed your mom because you didn't win it 10 times? I didn't
win 10. My mom never forgave me for not winning 10. I said, Mom, 9 wins, 1 third place, 1 second place. That's not bad. No, but you could have won. Then I got a phone call when I didn't win from Nas Botha. Nas phoned me. He said, Bruce, don't panic. He said, Nas told me he won 9 curry cups with Northerns, with bulls. 9 curry cups. The 10th one, they had no reason to lose. They played Natal, who are now known as the Sharks, but in those days they were still called the Banana Boys. That's how little they were rated.
Oh.
These funny Banana Boys from KZN. Earlier in the season, the Bulls smashed them. And now the Sharks, Natal, came to Loftus to play the Bulls in their backyard, and they won.
Yeah.
And I said, I ran onto the field knowing that I was going to win my 10th Curry Cup, and I ran off the field thinking, how did we lose? So he said, I got 9. And then he told me, and so he said, we're in good company. He said, because Martina Navratilova won 9 Wimbledon singles titles.
Oh, yeah.
And her 10th, which she should have won, was against, I think, an unknown youngster called Tracy Austin from the States, and Tracy Austin won. And Martina should have won. And then the most famous 9 of all, and no one can put yourself in that league, if Donald Bradman had scored 4 runs of his last innings, his last batting innings for Australia, just 4 runs, he would have had a lifetime average of 100.
Oh,
no one. The next nearest lifetime average is 60-something to touch. Sachin Tendulkar, Graham Pollard.
Yeah.
He would have had a lifetime average of 100, but he got 0.
Okay.
In his last innings, he got 0, so he got 99.
Just as you took a tangent there, why did Van Melder declare when he was supposed to equal Brian Lara's, or even better, his score? I'm still puzzled.
I'm still puzzled because I would go for it. I would go.
I mean, records are there to be broken.
If your team is, you always have to sacrifice for the team. So if they were running out of time to get Zimbabwe out, and he's taking too long to get there, well, then you must declare, because that's for the team. But he had plenty of time.
3.5 days.
Yeah, and he had 30 runs to get or something. And no one was. I would have gone for it. And guess what? He probably would have got a message of congratulations from Brian Lara.
Yeah, definitely.
I understand it's Zimbabwe, but you're also then slightly insulting Zimbabwe by saying we don't count you as opposition. I can remember when Zimbabwe was very, very strong opposition.
Yeah,
the Flowers, Andy Flower, Heath Streak,
I know those.
Henry Olonga.
Yeah.
They were a side, So I know every team goes up and down, whatever, but I would have carried on.
But then let's go back to Comrades again. We've got 2 legends they are in their league of their own, but I think you are in their league. The reason why I would say you are in their league, Louis Maseni just achieved his 50th. And Barry is on unfortunately couldn't achieve it last year. But what do those kind of moments mean to you?
Well, you see, what it does is what is so special about Comrades is that you don't necessarily have to be number 1 to be a winner.
Yeah.
And Comrades teaches you that lesson. If you've done the best you can, you didn't choose your parents correctly, you've done the best you can for your genetic ability. No one dare say you're not a winner. Barry Holland and Louis Massein never had any chance of winning the race.
Yeah.
But look what winners they are. And Barry will get his 50th. I know.
Are you confident?
In the next down run.
Yeah.
In the next down run, he'll get his 50th. And then there's a whole bunch of guys chasing them. Vic Boston, Colin Goosen, even Alan Robb's done about 43. So
I know.
There's a bunch of guys. Witsi van der Westhuizen. There's a few guys who are coming who could actually pass them, so who knows? 50 and 50 is magnificent, it's an unbelievable achievement.
And in terms of winning Comrades, who comes after you, close to you, the ladies and the gents?
Well, you know, people always forget her. They always forget her. You know, people say Gerda Steyn, Frith van der Merwe. People forget Elena Nogalieva.
Yeah.
She won 8. She won 8 comrades.
I know.
You know, if she hadn't had a twin sister, she would have won 10.
Yeah.
So she got beaten twice by her sister, and she ran 13 times, and her worst position is 3rd.
Yeah.
I think you could say she's the greatest ever Comrades runner. 13 runs, worst position 3rd, 8 wins.
Wow.
And they always forget Elena, you know. Maybe because she was not South African, maybe because she was a bit below the radar, maybe because she's got a twin sister and they can never tell them apart. But there's your maybe arguably your best ever Comrades runner.
And then you've got the likes of Alan Robb, who's got 4 wins.
Yeah.
And then you've got Stephen Muzingi. They honored him with the winner's jacket in the previous Comrade. Just recently.
He's got 3. Dave Bagshaw had 3. No, look, I mean, then if you do the 5-time winners, Jackie Meckler 5, Wally Hayward 5, Hardy Ballington 5, Arthur Newton 5. Then, actually, funny enough, Alan Robb sits on his own with 4. If Bong Musa wins 1 more, then he'll have 4. And if Tete wins 1, he'll have 4. Gerda's got 4.
Yeah.
But she's going to win a couple more. So there's a lot of the triple winners, Vladimir Kotov.
Yeah, Vladimir
And another
Kotov,
one that people always forget, Helen Luca. 85, 86, 87, 3 in a row.
Yeah. Which is rare.
Well, you see, there's the people who've got a hat trick.
Yeah.
So I like teasing Gerda because she doesn't have a hat trick.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe she does now. No, because she missed out, you see. So, and I can tease Tete because he's got 3 wins, but it's not a hat trick. A hat trick is 3 in a row.
Although he's got a green number, but it's not a hat trick.
And it's 1-3, but you've got to do 3 in a row.
Stephen Muzingi's got a hat trick.
Stephen Muzingi's got a hat trick. Helen Luca's got a hat trick. Arthur Newton's got a hat trick. Alan Robb's got a hat trick.
Yeah.
I've got a hat trick. And I probably left somebody out, but it's got to be 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to see.
But then you've seen Comrades in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, 2000s, and like, how do you, can you maybe just draw a parallel or just take us through each of the 10 years that you've seen Comrades grow and, I mean...
Okay, so if I look at the 70s, because I followed it from the early 70s, even though I only started in 77, white male only race, biggest number of runners, 1,500. No prize money, only a few different medals, gold, silver, bronze. 11-hour cutoff.
Yeah.
11-hour cutoff, a handful of women, a handful of black runners. The best was Vincent Khabashani Rakabeli came 4th, 1976 maybe. But they weren't there. And the women were Letty van Zyl. She might have got a hat trick. 1, 2, 3. 1979, Jan Mallon. You know, but their times were nowhere near where the ladies are running now. And then the other thing was that you could be seconded the whole way by your family. They could drive alongside you in the car and hand you drinks out the window. No distance markers. Results came about a month later. Beautiful pamphlet with your time at 25 Ks, at halfway, at 75 Ks for every runner.
So those were the splits.
And how you slowed down, it showed you. And then you didn't get your medal on the day. It came from the South African Mint, printed, it was stamped by the South African Mint with your name and your time engraved on the back, every single medal.
I think I've seen your 1981 medal, it's got that,
And then 1980s, then the television impact. So television from 76, but the television impact started at the 1980s is probably the biggest growth. And then because there were some characters, and I'm going to be immodest and count myself as one of them, but there was also Wally Hayward, Frith van der Merwe, there was much more drama, people crawling across the finish line, and live television. That was the thing, the live television. And so I still meet many people who are now adults who say, when we were little, our dad used to make us get up. We made hot chocolate and we watched the Comrades on television the whole day. And I think that's the extraordinary thing. It's the whole day, which in a marathon overseas they don't do. So if you want to watch, next month, September, Berlin Marathon, you can watch Berlin Marathon on TV, but shortly after the top 10 women are in, they cut.
Yeah.
They cut and they go off to some other sport. Something boring like motorsport. I'm just teasing my mates. But they cut, whereas Comrades, it's a full day. They show all the, and don't worry, we know because I commentate. We're tired by the end here. We're tired. It's hard to commentate on thousands of people walking.
But I head off to you and the likes of Musibudi and the
Musibudi and Ewan and Gerald de Kock and Tanith Maxwell. Yeah, we got a great team. Helen Luca.
And then we went from the 80s, the 90s.
Yeah, and then the 90s is really the foreign invasion. Because up until 94, the race is still South African largely, even though there were some English winners, like I mentioned, Mick Orton, Dave Bagshaw. They came out and they ran, but they suffered, they would be banned by their national federations or whatever. But from 94 onwards, the race was opened up, and there was a kind of a Russian invasion. Yeah. And you get the Nogalieva twins, Bichkova, Liakova, Shatieva, the ladies. The men, you've got Kotov, Dmitry Grishin. I'm going to forget somebody, but Koritanov, people like that coming in. And some Polish winners as well. You got 1993 Charlie Doll from America, whose son, by the way, got a silver medal in the Olympic skiing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And for the same, there's an example of choosing your parents correctly. His son got a silver medal in the Olympics for cross-country skiing, which is it's that speed endurance. So that's a kind of the foreign invasion, and then I think that's to 2000, Jaroslaw Janicki. The only reason I know he's from Poland is because our next door neighbors were Polish. And when he won, we came home from when I'd done the TV commentary or something, came home and they had a huge Polish flag flying over our wall because Jaroslaw Janicki had won from Poland. And then, then what are we in the 2000s, I would say, slowly the South Africans, or certainly recently, wresting control back. More South Africans starting to win again, because there was a long time when we just couldn't supply a winner. I mean, it's like the English trying to win Wimbledon. There is this most English of tennis tournaments, and Andy Murray's the last one they had. And then the women's side, they haven't had a winner since Virginia Wade in 1977. And the French, right now as we talk, the Tour de France is on. They can't win the Tour de France.
And it's in their backyard.
And in fact, it must kill the French to not win the Tour de France. I think that the last Frenchman to win the Tour de France is Laurent Fignon, 1984, somewhere in 82, 83.
That far back.
Yeah, they win things like King of the Mountains and they have an actual race. I could be wrong, but I think anyway, certainly they haven't won a lot. And the thing that must absolutely kill them is that the English have been winning the Tour de France. Bradley Wiggins, Christopher Froome. And Christopher Froome, by the way, 4 times Tour de France winner. Went to St. John's College.
Oh, here
St. John's. He is English, but
with a South African
on the day
influence.
he won his first Tour de France, the whole school wore yellow. Even the headmaster, everybody wore yellow. Because he's from St. John. So those great events, I think we got some control back. And now at the moment it's and I think the greatest breakthrough is prize money coming in 1995. Sean Mickeljohn was the first person to win prize money in 1995. And then that's helped to make the race international. Yeah. Because now people are coming and it's becoming more and more famous. Everybody knows the Comrades.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The badge, the logo, I've run around Hyde Park because I go to the UK maybe once a year. My sister lives there. My son's working there. There you are, Johnny Clegg's Scatterlings of Africa. We scattered all over the world. But anyway, I can run around Hyde Park or Kensington Gardens and you see English people when they run past, they see this badge. They know, ooh.
Oh, they know Comrades, and they respect the brand.
Now, I saw a wonderful thing the other day. I gave a talk for a company for Cell C, because they sponsor Comrades now, so they asked me to be their speaker at one of their functions, and they had quite a few members of their company who were running Comrades, and they asked a few of them to say a few words, and the one guy stood up and he said, when I catch my bus in Soweto, he said, I wear my Comrades blazer, or my Comrades jacket, or my Comrades peak cap. He said, everyone in the taxi lets me get on first. And he said, they call me the champion, even though I've never won it. He said, because everybody knows this thing, oh, Comrades runner. Yeah.
But then, you've got a photographic memory. Are you, because you read a lot, or you just like watching sport?
I've got quite a good photographic memory of stuff that I love. And one of the subjects I loved at school was history and English. History and English. Don't ask me to do maths. I just scraped maths. My maths teacher, proof that there is actually a kind guiding spirit, guiding angel for me, was that I passed maths just enough in matric. But history and English I sailed through. Yeah. And I got A's in that because I love it. I love history. And I think I love English. I love writing. I'm not a great writer, but I'm a good writer. I know I'm a good writer. I'm not a great writer. I'm not going to make Shakespeare panic. But I can write well. I don't need to get a ghostwriter to write for me. And then history, I love it because I just remain astonished that we never learn the lessons of history. We repeat the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. You know, and I mean the classic one, because I've just finished reading Stalingrad. I just read Antony Beevor, the Siege of Stalingrad. Hitler didn't learn the lesson from Napoleon. You cannot invade Russia. You cannot invade Russia. It's so vast, you can never hold Russia. Yeah. You can have Moscow, and you still haven't got Russia. Yeah. They just retreat and they'll create another. So Hitler thought he could invade Russia. Well, he did. And for the first few weeks, June, whatever it was, 1941, he was over the moon. Over the moon. So excited that the panzer divisions were gaining 100 k's a day. Yeah. And then the summer runs out, and then it's winter, and then it's freezing cold, and you still haven't got Russia. And then your men die in their thousands, and then you retreat.
Because of the cold,
Same with Napoleon. Anyway, but that's just one example. There's just so many examples of you don't do this, you don't do that, but they still do it. So I love history, and of course I love the history of the Comrades Marathon and all its stories.
We are on the verge of the 100th run of Comrades, which is in 2 years' time. This year we've seen the likes of that winning with those, like the distance between the winner and the second, Piet Veersman being seconds.
5 seconds, 3 seconds the last downer. Yeah, so another change that you could say to me, the times are not that much faster. Yeah. So if you take my best times and average, because the distance changes every year, so it's so messy. 2 years ago, down run was so short, it's ridiculous. You can't even count those times, because they ran times that will never be done again unless we have a race that short. But to me, it's speed per kilometer or speed per meter. So I'm still up there. I'm not the fastest, but I'm still up there. But what has changed is the gaps between the runners. So in my day, I'll give you an example. Alan Robb won the 1978 Comrades by 20 minutes. Yeah. I was 14th that day. So I was 40 minutes behind Alan. Yeah. Okay, that just won't happen now. Then I won 1983 by 15 minutes. I was 15 minutes ahead. I was over Polly Shorts and nearly at the finish when the next guy was starting Polly Shorts. Yeah. You see, so those gaps will never, with Gerda, of course, but it may be, if I'm talking the men's race, the men's race, they're coming in. Yeah. And especially on a down. But even the ladies' race, it was done and dusted at 6 hours 20 minutes. The first 10 were in. It's much faster. I think that's probably one of the biggest changes. A lot more people running very well. That's the difference. And the runners now, well, Gerda can still, but they don't have a lot. You can't relax and say, I've done it. Yeah. Whereas in our day, you could, if your seconds told you, listen, Bruce, you're more than 10 minutes ahead and you've got 3 Ks to go.
You could
Well,
be.
unless you cramp, you've done it, yeah.
I guess that's what is done by Onalena Konkobe. He just opens a wide gap, and then, but they
you
eventually
must
they
open
catch
the wide gap at the end, not
in the beginning. Yeah. But then that's what happened in the. Let's just fast forward to going. If you look at Comrades 2027, which will be the 100th run. For you, will it be? Should they increase the prize money that to entice people, or what would you want to see? 34,000 runners lining up, or the
more
prize
runners.
money?
No, you don't need to increase the prize money. There's enough enticement there anyway to win the 100th.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel sorry for if it was a person, I feel sorry for the 2026 uprun because it's like in the shadow. Everyone's waiting for 2027, but we have to do 2026 and a 2026 uprun. So I feel sorry for 2026. It's like she's the only one who doesn't have a dance at the ball, a partner at the ball. But 2026, and then 2027 will be massive. You don't have to offer more. What I am concerned with is I think the new committee's done an amazing job. I think the race was fantastic, but the finish was chaotic at the end.
Yeah.
The last 15 minutes, if you throw in another 12,000 runners,
Sure.
where are you going to put them? That's where I am worried about. Because remember, if we had 22,000 this year, so if we have 34,000, which
is 12,000 more.
12,000 more. Okay, 2,000 of them will be faster runners who will be spread out through the field. But at least 10,000 of them are going to be slow runners who are going to make it in the last hour. How can you fit them in? I mean, we couldn't even see Louis Massain when he was finishing. He was so lost in all the thousands of people. And these people and they didn't cross the line, some of them, because
they were falling all over the place,
So I don't know that, but at least we had this year where now we can see there's a problem that has to be sorted out.
When did you start announcing at the races or even at Comrades?
No, I did a bit over the years, but I did it properly from I've been going for about, where are we doing it? Well, maybe about 8 years. I've been doing the TV commentary.
Yeah.
And I'm not a good commentator. You don't need me for Soweto Marathon, and you don't need me for whatever marathon, but you do need me at Comrades. You need me so that I can say quite easily, you need me at Comrades, and you probably need me at Two Oceans. Those two, because I know those two races so well, and I know the courses so well. The rest, you don't need me. I'm not that more knowledgeable than anybody else, but at Comrades and Two Oceans, I bet you need me in the team there,
How many Two Oceans have you done?
32.
Oh, you were not racing at Two Oceans, ne?
Once I came fourth in my first one, and I learned never again. And Tete Dejani said the same thing to me, never again. Because the Two Oceans takes too much out of you for
Comrades.
I know Gerda's done it. She does it every year, but the ladies' races, with all respect to Gerda, are less competitive, and you've got more leeway to recover. The men's race hasn't been done. The double has not been done since Derek Price. 74, 75, he did Two Oceans Comrades, Two Oceans Comrades. But Two Oceans he ran 3 hours 20, and Comrades he ran 6 hours. Now you've got to do under 3:10, and Comrades you've got to do under 5.5.
It's not that easy.
You won't recover in time.
Some of your highlights in being an announcer there at Comrades and Two Oceans?
I think to announce the finish is always very dramatic. To announce the start, and then I'm the one, I take everybody through the route. So they have the route, a map of the route from Pietermaritzburg to Durban, and I'm the only one who knows where that light's going. So I tell everybody now we're in Kloof, now we're in Gillets, now we're going through Westcliff. So that's quite good. I think probably a highlight is when we start to pick up on social media. Love this commentary by team. Thank you. You're doing a great job. That's the best. And it's not me. It's our team. We bring different strengths to the group, and we a little bit like a Springbok pack. Each of us has got a job to do, and each of us does the job quite well. That's what I've found. So I can rely on Kewan next to me.
Oh, I see.
I can rely on Tanith but she's going to know what's going on in the ladies' race well, yeah.
But then who was your competitor in your... I know you won by those margins of 15 minutes, but who gave you sleepless nights? Were you like Gerda, whereby you see, I don't have a challenge here?
No, you can never say that. You've always got a challenge. You forget the biggest challenger of all is the course itself.
Yeah.
You've just got to finish. Alan Robb, Hosea Charlie, Bob Delamotte, Johnny Halberstadt, Mark Page, all great runners who could win in their day. Probably the best runner I ever ran against was Johnny Halberstadt. I think he's the greatest distance runner South Africa's ever had. People have already forgotten him, but he won every single race in South Africa, every single distance race, and some of them 2 or 3 times. The only one he didn't win was Comrades, but he came twice, he came second. 2 Oceans with a record. SA Champs, he won 10Ks, 15Ks, the old 16Ks, 21.
He walloped
marathon,
everything.
All of it, yeah. And you mention a race and I'll say to you, twice. You say that once. Sub 4 minute mile, which is impossible, a sub 4 minute mile.
Yeah.
But he did it, sub 4 minute mile. NCAA's, that's the US colleges 10,000 meters against all the Kenyans and Ethiopians. He won that. He's probably the greatest. He just didn't win Comrades, but he had 2 second places.
And as we go to the end, some of your highs and lows in your journey?
Well, highs is always winning, and then I won a race which is the brother-sister race, sibling race of Comrades called the London to Brighton, which goes from Big Ben, across Westminster Bridge, across the Thames, all the way to Brighton Beach. And that is the kind of English equivalent. And runners from both races have won both. So Dave Bagshaw's won Brighton, he won Comrades. I won Comrades, I won Brighton. Bernard Gomersall won 4 Brightons, he won Comrades. Alan Robb, Sean Micklejohns won them both. So I think winning the English race was quite a highlight because it showed that I could take my talent overseas and still win. I think a low was winning the 81 Comrades wearing a black armband protesting against apartheid. The crowd hated me, I got booed, I got things thrown at me. That was a very unpopular winner.
Yeah.
So that's probably a low. And then, just every now and again you get comments from people that just surprise you, like, why would you say that? Are you jealous of me? You get the odd, but in my case, I'm very fortunate. For every wonderful comment I've had, for every bad comment I've had 1,000 great ones. So you're always going to get somebody who doesn't like you, or I don't know, whatever. But no, there are very few lows in athletics.
And lately, how do you keep fit besides your park runs? Do you get up every morning, go run?
I ran this morning about 8 Ks. It's very slow. I'm slow now. I've had a knee replacement, so I just plod around. And then I love parkrun. It's my legacy stuff, It's the stuff. Though of course parkrun doesn't belong to anybody, but we started it in South Africa, my wife and I, and 26 people came to the first parkrun. Now we've got 225 different venues around the country and over 1.6 million registered members. So and growing all the time. We grow by about 2,000 to 3,000 people every week.
How do people get registered for these park runs?
So all you do is just go to parkrun.com and you register on there and you print a little paper barcode. It's the size of a credit card. And that paper barcode you take along to a parkrun, and so you don't have it when you start. When you finish, you can show that little barcode. You can get it on your cell phone as well. I'm wearing mine around my wrist.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And that gets scanned and you get your results, and it's the most addictive thing I've ever seen in my life. Unbelievably addictive. And every single Saturday, with the exception of 2 events, you will see me at a parkrun. One is the Skakuza Half Marathon, which I love because it's through the Kruger Park, and unfortunately it's on a Saturday, interferes. And the other one is the 2 Oceans because I'm commentating. I can't do a parkrun that day.
Do you do parkrun a day before Comrades?
Everybody does.
Oh, those.
You've never seen North Beach Park Run in Durban. It's 1,500 runners, sometimes 2,000 runners. But they go very slowly because they know the next day they've got it.
They're running Comrades. And I had a lady, her name is Karen Krause, who I was with at the trail run. She said, please tell Bruce that you ran with her favorite redhead.
Yes, my favorite redhead, yes. Karen, yes.
Yeah.
She's fantastic, yeah. She went from nowhere to running, to not believing in herself, to running 2 Comrades, and she'll run more.
Yeah, I mean, she swam, she did all sorts of crazy stuff, Do you feel you've made your indelible mark in the running fraternity or in your life, or you still want to make one?
No, I still would want to do more with, especially with Parkrun. We want to go up into Africa, take it to more African countries, more townships, more rural areas. We're 1.5 million. Why can't we be 10 million?
Yeah.
The dream of Parkrun globally, because it's a global thing, is that there will come a time wherever you are, you will not be far away from a parkrun. So on a Saturday morning, you'll be able to do a parkrun.
Have you engaged the Minister of Sport, because he seemed to be
He's promised me he's going to run, but he's busy. So, but I've seen him a couple of times. He says, "I know I owe you a parkrun," but in his case, it'll be park walk. He's not going to run. Yeah, but that's the beauty of parkrun. You see, you can walk. We should have called it park walk.
Yeah. Bruce, I've enjoyed having a chat with you, and I see you even getting tired, but your memory is still sharp as a sword.
No, my memory's still sharp with those things.
Yeah. But then, thank you for your time, Bruce. And I'll see you on Sunday. And
I'll see you there. Are you doing the 21 though?
I'm doing 21. I'll be running with and taking some of the moments on the road, just to put on the channels, just to give our sport some love, because you're doing commentating. So I thought, let me capture people as they run, sure. and those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks a lot.
And that brings to an end our conversation with Ndade Bruce Fordyce. Hope you've enjoyed this insightful chat. We love what we do what we love. We will see you in the next episode. Until then, sharp.